Around 500,000 people are fleeing renewed fighting on the border between Thailand and Cambodia. More than a dozen people have been killed since violence erupted on Monday, shattering a US-Malaysian-brokered peace agreement that was signed in October. President Donald Trump says he will make a phone call to restore the truce.
People fleeing the border between Thailand and Cambodia. Officials say more than 500,000 are displaced as fighting between the two countries continues. Hostilities began after Thailand accused Cambodian forces of firing on its troops. The conflict is a border dispute that goes back decades. Both countries claim ancient temples and the lands that surround them, which were once part of the same empire. U.S. President Donald Trump says he'll take care of it.
Hey, tomorrow I have to make a phone call, and I think they'll get it. Who else could say, I'm going to make a phone call and stop a war of two very powerful countries, Thailand and Cambodia? They're going at it again. But I'll do it.
But Trump has already done it. When fighting broke out in July of this year, he threatened sky-high tariffs on both sides if they didn't stop fighting. They agreed to a truce. And then in October, with Trump present, they signed a ceasefire deal. That deal started to fray within weeks, with both countries accusing each other of firing across the border in November. And now the latest round of fighting. Thailand does not seem to want Trump's help this time around.
If a third country had proposed to mediate, I think Thailand will not accept it. I think we made it very clear that this issues that the line has been crossed.
It's unclear what leverage Trump wants to use to stop the conflict this time. With feelings running high on both sides, tariff threats may no longer be enough.
Let's bring in journalist Tommy Walker. He's in Surin in Thailand, that's close to the border with Cambodia. Tommy, I believe you've been in and out of shelters all day. Tell us what's been happening there.
Yes, actually this morning I've been with a rescue team who've been going into border areas where there's been very loud incoming and outgoing fire, where there are still people trying to get out of the firing line and try to get to safe shelter. So that's where I've been this morning. Yesterday, evacuation centres visited many. There were some where they were smaller than others. They were worried about food shortages in the coming days. Others, which had government aid and private aid, were bigger and had close to 10,000 in one in Buriram. They were being well looked after, but they were uncomfortable because they're living in limbo. They're living in uncertain times. They're staying on the floor and tents and hammocks, and if they're not in these makeshift evacuation shelters like temples or universities or schools, they're staying in bomb shelters. So it's the human impact is huge at the moment. People have been evacuated, and as mentioned, there has been people who are still trying to evacuate from the border areas. So it's a massive toll on the human impact from Thailand and Cambodia as well.
Cambodia has called for the UN Security Council to intervene in the conflict. Has Thai leadership responded yet? What are you hearing?
It seems that Thailand is digging its heels in at the moment. With that press conference yesterday, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has said, Thailand doesn't want to negotiate, and any third-party intervention wouldn't be welcome right now. So it feels that Thailand certainly wants to continue its military operations. The government has really left this to Thailand's military to take charge here. That might change, though, if there is enough and continued international pressure. The UN have called for ceasefires, and so has Malaysia, who were heavily involved in that July ceasefire. Now we're waiting to see if US President Donald Trump will make any further dent into this conflict and try and bring both of these countries to the table. But as it stands today, I have to stress the fighting is continuing. The sounds of incoming and outgoing fire is relentless in Surin and near the border. So it doesn't seem it's going to be ending today, at least. But again, there might be some ceasing of hostility in the coming days if there's enough international pressure.
Yeah. Let's take a closer look at two players that you already mentioned, the U.S. and Malaysia. They brokered the October ceasefire. They are stepping in. Donald Trump wants to call both leaders today. What are the chances of Malaysia and the U.S. actually being able to de-escalate this conflict?
It's an interesting one because I think Trump and Malaysia had some quick success in July when the conflict was raging then, and it kind of got, the ceasefire agreement kind of got brought to the table very quickly. But I think this time it might take a little bit longer just because of how angry both sides are in this situation. Thailand especially has said it's not ready for negotiations. It just wants to continue this military operation until Cambodia shows that they're ready for peace. Trump will inevitably use an economic leverage there. Thailand thinks that should be a separate conversation. I think what we could expect, certainly in the initial steps, would be for the heavy arms fire to cease. That includes, Thailand's fighter jets. That includes Cambodia's BM-21 missiles, which have a variety of range and deadly impact. So I think that would probably be the initial steps to prevent the heavy arms fire. I think we can expect, at the very least, small arms fire to continue, whether at the border, at the borders. But I think that would be the first step. But it must be the economic leverage that the US has over both countries, and it just remains to be seen about whether that's going to work this time so quickly, or is it going to take another few days or another few weeks for this conflict before that begins and before the ceasefire comes back into play.
Journalist Tommy Walker on the Thai-Cambodian border. Thanks so much, Tommy, and please be safe.
Thank you.